Polis, fight for the hegemony. So, I've had a face-to-face game and a couple of solo games, and I thought I'd pen some thoughts. Now, this game reminds me of, packaging-wise anyway, of Lost Battles, one of my favourite games, which is outstanding, and the box reminds me of it. This is a totally different game, but has some excellent qualities to it. And I don't review many games at all, but this deserved it. First up, just a mention about the components. The board is a nice, fully mounted board. The map that it depicts is functional, clear, and looks good. The market values table and the resources table on the left, again, nice artwork, clear and very functional. And the individual resources board that Sparta and Athens have, mounted on a nice, hard, semi-glossy surface, and with a very clear chart and list of turn actions and end of round actions. Very simple, but very nicely done and presented. So, you know, the boards and the two-player aids are excellent. You know, you've got your standard Euro type cubes and discs, nicely done. The tiles that come with it that represent projects and poli are nice, thick cardboard, rounded edges, nice artwork, very clear, again very functional and look excellent. The event cards, there's a few that come with the game. They're nothing special, but they're done well, and they don't play a huge part in the game, but the component wise they're excellent. And the same can be said for the battle cards. Battle's an abstract event in this game, and these cards are used to depict that, and they're nicely done. The box itself is a nice solid box, and I love the artwork on it, really classy. As for the rulebook, a nice semi-gloss full colour rulebook. I found it very easy to follow and to pick up the rules with the help of a video or two on the Geek. But yep, all round great quality components from Mercury Games in this issue of Poli Fight for the Hegemony. So you've probably seen my session reports on the game, so I'm not going to explain how it goes too much, other than to reiterate that it's a two-player game. You play either Athens or Sparta around the time of the Peloponnesian Wars, and you're trying to recruit by diplomacy or warfare other poli to join your cause and support democracy if you're Athens, or the oligarchy if you're Sparta. And you're using your military might, your resources, some projects that your nation can undertake to boost your economy. So Euro type things you can do to achieve dominance. And what characterizes the one of the strengths of this game is the number of things you can do as a player on your turn. There's a plethora of choices of things to do. It's fascinating, but that is contrasted by the fact that you have limited resources to do these different events, and sometimes the payment for them may be in what's known as prestige points, which are virtually victory points at the end. So you're paying victory points to make other achievements in the game. So it's a real balancing act. Just quickly looking at some of the options you have as a player. Each turn you get 2 actions and you pass to your opponent, he gets 2 actions and so forth. And you're doing things like creating hoplites, creating galleys, creating merchants, beginning a project, moving hoplites, moving galleys, besieging poli, collecting resources from your conquered empires, trading, moving your proxenos, a sort of diplomat, rescuing him, instigating civil war. So a whole lot of a raft of things you can do on your turn, and they're all fascinating, and they're all actions you want to take at some point in the game, and you've just having to struggle with balancing those resources. Do I want to spend my precious wheat supply, or my precious wood, or my precious metals to achieve that particular action? So yeah, wonderful stuff in that respect. So this is a two-player game where you're balancing all these actions you can take with your resources. So it's very much a Euro game, but it's got a very strong military feel to it, because as Sparta, for example, you have a slight advantage in land warfare, and that's played out by the fact that you always go first in battles when playing the battles cards, and that's quite critical. As Athens, you start with a slight one more galley in the sea, which is quite large. And in naval battles, you play your battle cards first, which is a huge advantage. So you've got Sparta that are strong on land, Athens that are strong on sea, Athens that have less access to that precious commodity wheat to feed their populations. And you've got these challenges. How do I feed my population as well as develop my empire? If you expand too soon or too quickly, you're going to run out of food and you're going to pay the price. If you don't expand and sit back, then your opponent's going to just take over different nations and so forth. So it's a very rich game without going into too much detail. And there's some other videos on the Geek that go into detail, so I'm not going to do that. I just want to give you some very quick thoughts about it. It's a very rich game, deep game, challenging game. Frustrating game because you want to do things, you can afford it, but is the cost going to be too great at the end of the game? What I really like about this game is I can see with repeated plays that you can develop strategies and really think through them and play to a certain strategy. For example, in the couple of games I've played, Athens have really struggled, so my strategies in future now will be to try and build up their naval strength even more and just try and cut off the sea routes, the trade routes of the Spartans, and see if I can starve them a little bit and tackle them that way. And that might take quite a bit of work. But it's a game, I think, that deserves repeated plays, and I think there's going to be huge depth in this game and replayability, exploring strategies and ways to get that victory. So from that perspective, it's an exciting game, absolutely exciting. So when starting out to learn this game, I found, and I think other people have made the same comment as well, it can be a little overwhelming with that raft of options you can take as a player on your turn. It's like, where do I start? What do I do to get anywhere? It's a sort of game that you can only really, I think, answer that question by just jumping in and just trying it, and not worrying too much if you botch up your first 2 or 3 games, and even finish the game early in the 4th or 5th round because you've just run out of prestige points. Very quickly after that, after a couple of games, you'll get an idea as to the balance, as to how to approach the game so that you don't get totally starved out too early on and the like. But that's a word of caution there. Be prepared to play 1 or 2 games first, and endure any frustrations you may have, because there's a great game lurking in here. And I think that's something I can say about most of my favourite games, like Napoleon's Triumph and the Guns of Gettysburg and a couple of others, Lost Battles. Games that are quality and that have that depth that I really enjoy often are games that I've got to work through early on and overcome that level of frustration, and push through the barriers to new concepts and new ideas. I don't think there's anything too new here in the terms of concepts and ideas. I think just what's done here is done very, very well, and the game is very well balanced. So who's this game going to appeal to? Well, I think this game's going to appeal to some wargamers. Although this is more leaning towards a Euro game, I think wargamers are going to find some real goodness here. And I really recommend that if you get a chance to play it, even if you're a wargamer, give it a go. It's I think a lot of you guys and girls will enjoy the larger scale strategic decisions that are there to be made. On a side note, this game is easy to set up, quick to set up, and quick to take down, which is always a positive thing. Sometimes we just can't be bothered spending a long time setting up or taking down a game. And this game sets up really easily and really quickly. Learning wise, I found the game very easy to learn, and I picked it up very, very quickly. Again, it helped watching one of the good rules videos that's posted on the Geek, but it's a very, from my perspective, very easy game to learn. But I know it's cliche, but I think this is going to be a game that's going to be very difficult to master. And that's going to be the fun of it, is learning and developing strategies and honing your ability to use your military might and your economic might and your projects to the best to better your opponent. So how does this game play solo? Well, I know a lot of wargamers in particular play their games solo, and although this is very much a two-player game, and ideally you want 2 players, I've found my solo games of this very engaging, being able to pursue strategies and for each side that are different. It's a game that does involve some hidden information, particularly in the when it comes to battles, but the cards, or the number of cards you're issued, is limited, and often the play of the cards is very obviously optimal for each side. So I think it lends itself reasonably well in terms of the battles to solo play. The game itself, I think the strength of solo play is that you can decide on a strategy for each side. For example, I mentioned before, maybe a strong Athenian push through the trade routes. If you're playing the Athenians and the Spartans as a solo player, you could pursue that strategy as the Athenians, and with the Spartans maybe pursue another strategy and keep that as an overriding thing. I think it's very doable solo. If you can play war games solo, you can play this solo. So yeah, I recommend it. It's a strong solo contender, despite the fact that it appears on the face of it very much a 2-player game. So Polis gets a big thumbs up from me. I think Mercury have done a great job putting this edition out. As I said earlier, the components itself are excellent. It's a good looking game. It's a very deep game. It's a rich game, and it's got a game that's going to reward repeated plays. I can't recommend it highly enough. It's quite a pricey game, so if you can see it on sale or on special somewhere, go grab a copy. It's that good. So I recommend now that you go grab your copy of Lost Battles from your game of Lost Battles, turn to the chapter on Athens and Sparta, have a read through the battles of the Peloponnesian Wars, then either go find yourself a playing partner or engage in it solo and have a crack at conquering the Mediterranean.